Chaos just erupted in the football world. Against the Los Angeles Rams, what should have been Shedeur Sanders' big break became a nightmare that nobody anticipated. All eyes were fixed on the field when Primetime's kid took the field. A Cleveland team in dire need of hope, haters circling like sharks, and fans hungry for evidence. What transpired, however, was a catastrophe rather than a highlight reel debut. The Rams' defense destroyed the Browns' offensive line as if it weren't there, snap after snap. Shedeur was never going to succeed. He was hurried, struck, and engulfed by force before any plays could begin. Additionally, he wasn't the promising story when the final whistle blew. Critics had been itching to write about him for a while. The viral post, "Haters Won't Shut Up," was met with an explosion of memes, takes, and derision on social media. Shedeur went from being Cleveland's most exciting prospect to the subject of every NFL joke in a single night. Here's the reality, though. It has nothing to do with Shedeur. This concerned a group that seemed to have set him up for failure. The line of attack fell apart. The coaching staff didn't appear to be ready. Additionally, the Browns may have simply thrown their rookie quarterback into the fire rather than shielding him. Was Shedeur's failure indeed this one? Or were the Browns revealing more serious issues that no rookie could reasonably handle? By the end of this movie, you will understand why Shedeur Sanders' terrible Rams game may not be the end of his career, but rather the beginning of a tale Cleveland cannot afford to overlook. The expectations were high from the time Shedeur Sanders landed in Cleveland. They were oppressive. Deion Sanders' son wasn't handled like an inexperienced apprentice. He was viewed as a lightning rod, a headline, and a symbol. Before he even set foot on an NFL field, the draft was rife with rumors and controversy, and both supporters and detractors were honing their arguments. Many skeptics said he was overhyped and more a result of his father's reputation than of his own skill. They claimed that the NFL speed would expose him and that his college highlights would not translate. He was already dismissed by some as merely another failed attempt. Shedeur brought that burden into this game against the Rams, a preseason exam that resembled a fire trial. Here's the issue, though. It appears the Browns sent him into battle without armor rather than giving him a fair chance. Already being scrutinized during camp, the offensive line appeared damaged from the very first snap. Protection fell apart in an instant. The Rams defender moved quickly, making Shedeur duck, make quick throws, and take hard knocks. The quarterback being measured was not a rookie. It was the sacrifice of a rookie quarterback. And when many sat in the stands hoping to catch a glimpse of the future, what they saw was more akin to a nightmare. Sanders struggled with rhythm. The drive stopped. It felt like survival mode at every snap. And the whispers grew louder as the difficulties mounted. Perhaps the naysayers were correct. He might not be ready. The fact, however, was something that nobody appeared to acknowledge. This game revealed as much about Shedeur as it did about the Browns. And the subsequent events would start the firestorm. You sensed it from the first drive. Shedeur Sanders' evening was not going to go smoothly. The defensive front of the Rams quickly established the tone. Shedeur had 3 seconds to make his first drop back before a defender got in his face. Under pressure, the ball flew high as he stepped up and attempted to strike downfield. Cheers and alcohol quickly blended, creating the kind of mayhem that only an NFL crowd can produce. The nightmare recurred play after play. The offensive line fell apart like a piece of paper. Before the receiver could even turn his head, a screen pass exploded. The Rams defender celebrated as if it were the playoffs after a third down meltdown in which Sanders was just sucked whole and pushed into the turf. It was harassment, not just pressure. And there was no way out for the rookie quarterback. However, a flashback to one series follows. To get a first down, Shedeur rolled out to his right, gained some time, and rifled a ball down the sideline. The audience let forth a roar. That was Prime Son's peak. The vision, the poise, and the armed talent. There was a brief sense of impending redemption, and then reality retaliated. The pocket fell apart once more on the very next possession. Despite Sanders' best efforts to remain upright, the ball came out unsteady and unbalanced. The stadium let forth a gasp. Twitter took off.
The audience had their ammunition, but the Shedeur wasn't ready. The harm was already done when the Browns pulled them. The stat sheet was unattractive. However, the data didn't tell the whole story. It was evident from the expression on his face, the strain on his shoulders, and the subsequent quiet on the Cleveland sidelines. However, the aftermath of the game was much more raucous than the action on the field. The tape began to fly before the last whistle had even blown. Like wildfire, social media went viral. Shedeur is a complete failure. The Prime Time's child isn't prepared. The hashtag #HatersWon'tShutUp became the catchphrase on NFL Twitter as memes overtook timelines. This was the moment that critics had been anticipating. They only had to pronounce him exposed after one unpleasant night. However, there was a somber atmosphere in the dressing room. Colleagues were silent, the kind of stillness that is more powerful than words. Not at Shedeur, though. Some players shook their heads in exasperation. It had become a revolving door at the offensive line. The words, "We left that kid out to dry," were captured on tape. Although there is support, there was also frustration. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, spoke to the cameras as usual. "We need to improve in every aspect." However, the reporters didn't believe it. They questioned him about whether the performance ended his chances of moving up the depth chart, why Shedeur wasn't provided protection, and why he was withdrawn before the last drive, where he could demonstrate his 2-minute abilities. Although Stefanski ducked, his body language was clear. Cleveland is having trouble. The national press continued to report. Talk programs referred to it as a catastrophe. Every throw, every sack, and every wince on Shedeur's face were examined by analysts. He wasn't ready for the NFL stage, according to some. More empathetic people pointed directly at the Browns organization. You can't expect success if you put a rookie quarterback behind that line. In the meantime, there was a rift among the fans. Half of the anger is directed at Shedeur, and the other half is directed at the Browns for allowing him to fail. Even Cowboys supporters in Dallas added their voices, making jokes about Cleveland having already destroyed another rookie quarterback. However, blame was only one aspect of the larger picture. It concerned the implications for the Browns' decision-making and Shedeur's future. This August evening wasn't merely a poor evening. This was an occasion that revealed something more significant, a franchise that may be unable to safeguard its own future. Shedeur Sanders wasn't the only person put in a difficult situation by the Browns. They put him in what amounted to sabotage-like circumstances. Think about it. Cleveland rolled him out behind one of the worst offensive lines we've seen this preseason after drafting him with all the fanfare and hailing him as the quarterback of the future. It's the sort of action that leaves you wondering if the goal was to test Shedeur's ability to withstand turmoil or to develop him. In any case, it delivered a vicious message. This was more than just statistics or highlights for Shedeur. It has to do with perception. Narratives in the NFL move faster than actual play. After one poor performance, your label may be unprepared, undurable, or worst, a bust. And whether it's fair or not, those labels endure. That's why this evening is so important, because the Browns gave the naysayers ammunition rather than disproving them. The stakes are even bigger for Cleveland as a franchise. For years, they've been trying to find a reliable quarterback. Supporters are weary of heartache, experiments, and waiting. The ghost of Shedeur's past failures came back with a vengeance the second she struggled. This goes beyond a rookie quarterback. The question is whether the Browns will be able to get past their past. The NFL is also keeping an eye on it. The way Cleveland handled this was observed by other teams. Coaches and other general managers are already muttering.
Before the season even began, did they just destroy their most precious rookie's confidence? What occurs next might determine Cleveland's future, as well as Shedeur's course. What are the Browns' next steps? That is the query. Tonight, turning across Cleveland, do they put Shedeur Sanders on the depth chart and move on, or do they dismiss this as a rookie's growing pains? Both options have serious repercussions. Cleveland will send a message if he pulls him back. They don't think he's prepared. That can undermine his self-esteem before his career even begins. They run the risk of something worse if they continue tossing him out there behind this offensive line. Damage, annoyance, or the type of wounds that never go away. The hits off the field can occasionally endure longer for a rookie quarterback than the hits on it. The issue is evident for Shedeur. He must use this catastrophe as motivation. Every skeptic, every meme, and every headline that shouts overrated must become his pet peeve. Because this game will be remembered as his turning point rather than his breakdown if he can recover, if he can take the next snap and hush the fans. The locker room comes next. The players are observing. Veterans want to know if this kid can overcome hardship. Coaches are looking to see if he can change. Supporters hope he's more than just hype. You don't get many opportunities to change the narrative in the NFL, and Shedeur's window is closing quickly. In actuality, his career will either take off or fail entirely depending on what happens next. The Browns have two options. Either they protect him and give him the opportunity he deserves, or they will continue to fumble with his growth. There is no doubt, though, that every play Shedeur Sanders makes from here on will be more than a play. His sense of belonging will be put to the test. Fans were giddy with anticipation as the evening got underway. That hope seemed to have been torn away by the time the clock struck 0. To be honest, the Rams game served as fodder for Shedeur Sanders skeptics rather than calming them. Every timeline has a low-light reel with detractors yelling, "See, we told you so." Here's the reality, though. Shedeur was never the exclusive focus of this. It had to do with the Browns. It's possible that a team that has been losing quarterbacks for decades has simply made the same error again, putting a rookie quarterback in danger without providing him with the resources he needs to be successful. As a result, Cleveland's performance will be remembered more for what it accomplished well than for what Shedeur did poorly. You can still feel it. The story doesn't end here. This is only the beginning of an NFL career for a quarterback who has faced doubts all his life. From Cleveland to college, Shedeur Sanders has always been criticized, and he's always managed to get back up. This terrible night may perhaps be more of the spark that ignites his return than a breakdown. Here's the caution, though. Shedeur's career may go the same fatal course as for so many quarterbacks. If the Browns don't address the issues surrounding him and protect their investment, rookie, and future, we may remember this game in the future as either the night Shedeur Sanders was broken or the night he was forged. I'm working on a special project. 5 Shedeur Sanders Browns jerseys from the NFL store are up for grabs.